Welcome back, Nick Lenz. Comic Corner Classics / Non-Classics. This is episode number 1099 and Doubleshot number 983. I got two Spider-Man-related trades. First up, it is now this is basically the main series. Why am I reviewing this first? Because I have it. That's why. I read this one first. This is Absolute Carnage. Collects the 5-issue miniseries plus the Free Comic Day special that came out last year. I actually got this thing when it came out. Written by Danny Cotis, artwork by Ryan Stegman. Yep. Yeah. Ryan Stegman does pretty much most of his cover work anyways, with Frank Martin also on the artwork. So he's a colorist in here. The flashback artwork here is done by Mark Bagley. Yep. Now, what is up with this particular series? Yes, this is actually an event that came out just after they wrapped up the events of War of the Realms. And I should point out, though, this is the third event where Carnage, Cletus Cassidy, is the main villain. The first one since Minimal Carnage. Yes, that was a small-scale crossover between Venom volume. That was Venom when Flash Thompson was in charge of being the symbiote, and of course the Scarlet Spider, who at the time was Kane. Yes, one of Peter Parker's clones. Yep, and here's the thing about this particular event. Cletus Cassidy wants his hands on this codex, which apparently he has to go after every person who's been a host to the symbiote, at least to a symbiote. That's the whole point of the tie-ins, per se. Yep. And this particular thing, now, who's the main hero of the story? Is it Spider-Man? Nope, it's actually Eddie Brock Venom. Yeah, he's the main hero of this entire story, and yet, here's kind of the thing. We also have Reed Richards, well, a.k.a. The Maker. He appears in the story as a good supporting character. And this is also, now, basically, Spider runs into Eddie Brock, and oh yeah, and also Venom knows that Peter Parker's Spider-Man. I don't remember when at that point recently when he did that. Probably during the actual, probably during Dan Slott's final story arc on Amazing Spider-Man, which actually is referenced in here, and they bring back a character from that story arc. Yeah, so meets up with his son, and the fact takes him to Maker, and it's like, hi, I'm Reed Richards. It's like, I know Reed Richards is one of the smartest guys, one person here. It's like, are you as smart as him? Yeah, I'm just as smart as him. But here's the thing. Since Secret Wars happened back in 2015, the Maker, as far as I know, I don't think has ever interacted with Reed Richards after the events of Secret Wars. For Spider-Man, this is the first time he's ever, for him, as far as I can tell, this is the first time he's actually seen him since Secret Wars. He probably doesn't remember seeing it before. Or at least maybe Danny Coates probably forgot these two have technically met before in the events of Secret Wars, but nobody remembers Secret Wars, what happened during that event, except maybe Doctor Doom. Yeah, he's probably the only one who does remember, because no one else clearly does. Yep, and so, okay, we have to go after various people. Like, one person has to go after, because they bring in Normie's son, Norman Osborn's grandson, Normie Osborn, because he was briefly the host of the Carnage symbiote. And he had probably a piece of the codex inside of him. It's like, no, let's go break out Norman Osborn. Yes, Norman Osborn, a guy who's been in jail. I'm surprised that nobody's done anything with Norman Osborn since Slott put him in prison at the end of his run, which kudos for him doing that. And now apparently we're doing something with him. Apparently Nick Spencer probably had no plans to use him, but apparently, Danny Coates was like, okay, let's bring back Norman Osborn. This way, like, no one's seen this guy in probably like over a year, probably, I would say about a little over a year since he was last seen. Yep. Of course, they also bring in Matt Gorgon. Yeah, there's stuff basically in here that kind of ties up what happens in the tie-ins. Like Matt Gorgon shows up in here because he was past host of Symbiote. Surprisingly, in the main event, there's a couple of characters pop up in here. One, of course, is Lee Pierce. He does nothing in the main event. He pops up for the first issue and he disappears and is never seen again. Yes, Lee Pierce, the most boringest host of the Venom symbiote I have ever read. Yeah. Also, apparently, Carnage is like, okay, I gotta go after various people, including people from the Life Foundation. Yeah, so apparently off panel, He apparently killed a whole boatload of people, including pretty much the entire Life Foundation. Yes, the Life Foundation. The same people who also appeared in the first Venom movie that came out 2 years ago, which, by the way, the sequel for that, who first appeared back in Venom Lethal Predator #1. That's when the first one they showed up. I'm surprised that they killed off the entire organization. Surprisingly, there's one character who actually has a history with the Venom symbiote, and yet she's not in this main event. She's actually in a tie-in. Addie, a.k.a. Mania. Yeah, she actually pops up in a tie-in miniseries. But not the main event, which I'm like, that's weird. Why would I include her? Yeah. Also, like, this particular miniseries is so exciting. Though Spider-Man disappears half of his story just so he can help people out in the tie-ins, which is fine. I'm sure Coda's just like, yeah, I'm going to have my miniseries focus on Venom, not Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man's always been the star of a lot of these big events involving symbiotes, so why not Venom? Yeah, so they get split off, and of course, well, if you want to find out what goes on with Dylan and Normie, who become good friends over the course of the story, find out in the Venom book. Yep, that's pretty much what if you explain what they're up to. That particular event kind of explains it. Well, their tie-in, anyways. Of course, there are other tie-ins basically to this particular event. Also, the Avengers, until the very end, they do nothing this whole event, which is quite something. I think the reason why Codas probably did this is my personal theory, because they were just featured as one of the primary players, as the primary group, basically fighting against Malekith the Curse and its hordes of dark elves and ice giants. So, have them play a small role in the story towards the very end, which is fine. And, yeah. And, of course, who ends up basically defeating Cletus Cassidy? Why, it's Venom himself, who says, "Stay away from my son." And Dylan says, "Did you call me your son?" Yeah, that'll probably be expanded upon in the actual Venom book, which I'm looking forward to get a chance on the... There's actually a couple trades I haven't got a chance to my hands on yet for Venom. One, of course, is the War of the Realms tie-in issues. The other, of course, is the Absolute Carnage issues. Yep. Also, they tease possibly another crossover featuring the God of the Krell. That's the name of the species the symbiotes are. And their god basically has been released, possibly setting up another story. Yep, of course, Cletus Cassidy becomes super powerful throughout the entire story. But yes, absolute by far, really, really good story. I give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. Next up is Absolute Carnage versus Deadpool, written by Frank Thierry. Yep, he writes the miniseries. There's also the Absolute Captain Marvel one-shot in here, written by Emily Ryan Leonard. I'll get to this one in a minute. Now, in case you're wondering, what does Deadpool have anything to do with Carnage? Well, there's actually a reference in here, at least, and also a flashback to the last time Deadpool encountered Carnage in Deadpool vs. Carnage by Colin Bunn. Yes. Which I'm surprised, though. A Deadpool miniseries, and it's not written by Colin Bunn? Yeah, that's quite interesting, because if you look up into like the last couple years, like almost every single big Deadpool miniseries, has written by Colin Bunn. This one, of course, written by Frank Thierry. Great writer. And this trade is really thin, because the miniseries Absolute Carnage vs. Deadpool is actually only 3 issues. The Captain Marvel one's a one-shot. I'll get to what her connection is here. And the series itself kind of feels like a continuation of the Spider-Man Deadpool series. Because Spider-Man appears like almost every issue of this whole series. Like at first basically gets some help at Ravencroft, which that's been mentioned here. Deadpool himself gets a chance to counter Cletus Cassidy, which I'm like, since when does the main villain take part in tie-ins? Which... my guess is Carnage must have been breaking that rule, because generally the main villain of a story doesn't usually take part in tie-ins this much. Like, wow, he pops up in here, he pops up in another miniseries I'm going to review in the next episode with another trade, hopefully. Yeah. And of course, does Deadpool get a chance to beat up Carnage? Yeah, but doesn't defeat him. That basically, the man who defeats Carnage goes to Eddie Brock. Yep. Absolute fun little mini-series. As for the Captain Marvel one, now you're probably thinking, wait, what is Captain Marvel? What is her connection to the symbiotes? Well, there's a reason for that. Because she was briefly the host of Venom symbiote during the events of Siege. Yes, where it is revealed she actually is attracted to Spider-Man. Yeah, it happened in the Siege Spider-Man one-shot. Of course, this was 10 years ago. Yeah. And of course, Jessica Drew pops up in here. At one point, her cat gets hosted by one of the Carnage's pieces. Like, wow. It's like, okay. So cool. I mean, I love this. This is fantastic. It's book a 9.5 out of 10. Also, before I go, I got to mention basically something that was printed in this trade here. The in-May reports. Oh, yes. The in-May reports. And these for various people. First one goes to Carnage himself. And here's the thing. Okay, so and the prison ID numbers are basically a nod, are actually Easter egg, believe it or not. Patient number ASM 010361, basically a nod to Carnage's first full appearance, Clee Scott, when he first became Carnage back in May 361. And Clay Chap, I don't remember who this guy is, but yeah. And then we have Norman Osborn. Yes, Norman Osborn is interviewed by this guy. And his prison ID number is ASM 010014. A nod to missing 14, his debut appearance. Francis Louise Barson, aka Shriek, who actually did not take part in this story, which I'm like, yeah, that's kind of weird. Yeah, to have her in here, despite she's nowhere in the actual event itself, not that I saw. Yeah. Now, her prison ID number is this. SMU /up the 0 1 /a bunch of 0001. Basically a nod to her first appearance with Spider-Man number 1 at the start of the first event to feature Carnage as the main villain, Maximum Carnage. Yep. Yeah. And then we have Eddie Brock. His prison number is ASM 300, which is his first appearance as Venom. Oh yeah, and the person who interview is a guy by the name of Detective Larson. Yes. This character is probably, this is my opinion, I think he's named after Eric Larson, the guy who was one of the artists for Venom in the early 90s, and also the one who gave Venom his signature tongue. Yeah. Which I thought was utterly fantastic. They actually did that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But all in all, 2 really good series. Also, let's see. I think they actually do encounter like a couple of known Spider-Man villains pop up in this miniseries here. Like, there's about 3. Like, when I saw, like, really? You have these 3 people in here? Okay. You have Will-O-the-Wisp, Conundrum, and Freak. Will-O-the-Wisp and Freak, I have heard of these 2 before. Conundrum, I've never heard of 2. You're curious, though. Who the heck are these villains? Will-O-the-Wisp is basically a C-list Spider-Man villain who made his debut back in the 70s. Yeah, he is a weird character who, at times, I think this character is supposed to be dead, and also, nope, he's not dead, he's alive. It's weird. Freak is just some random, basically, Spider-Man villain I vaguely have heard of. Yeah, so it's like Frank Terry just dug up like 3 Spider-Man villains. One I have heard of before, Will-O-the-Wisp, has first appearance, not when it came out per se, I wasn't live yet. And like, oh yeah, and who does Captain Marvel fight in her one shot? Yeah, she fights a bunch of symbiotes. I don't think she fights any serial killers like another person does. Yeah, I'll talk about that. Yeah, basically it's her just battling a bunch of symbiotes, having her cat eat it, and, well, pretty much the one-shot itself is, simply put, just takes place before the events like happens to Carnage number 5. Yeah, but I've looked up, I read the entire event, so I pretty much understand what's going on with it. Yeah, surprisingly, this event was full of, like, here's kind of the interesting about this particular event. Aside from the main miniseries, there's a handful of limited series, a few one-shots, and only 2 ongoing series tying into this particular event. Both of whom made absolutely perfect sense to tie into this particular event. Venom, of course, because, well, Danny Coates is the writer of the title, so why not have him tie his own title into it? Amazing Spider-Man makes perfect sense because two reasons. One, Carnage is a Spider-Man villain, and two, this is the title that he made his debut in. Perfect sense. What happened in the aftermath of this particular event? Well, in the case of Venom, he basically has the story. He basically had a talk with his son about his revelation at the end of the thing. Yeah, that's actually explored upon in the aftermath issue in Venom, which later leads into the Venom Island storyline going right now. Scream makes a return during this event in her own miniseries, which later leads to her getting an ongoing series somehow. I'm not sure how at times that particularly works. Miles and Peter basically back doing normal things. Yeah. But I'll get to Miles in my next review. Yeah, there's not really a lot of consequences for this particular event, aside from the fact that it was revealed that Dylan finds out that supposedly his big brother is actually his father. Yeah. Oh, I should point out though, who was Dylan's mother? Why, it's Eddie Brock's ex-wife, Anna Wong, who was also briefly the host to the current symbiote. And here's also an interesting thing. Apparently, when Dylan was born, apparently the codex that was in her body, his mother's body, was transferred to him when he was born. Yeah. Let's kind of explain this miniseries. Yeah. So it's kind of like, okay, it's like Danny Coates pretty much brings in almost everybody who's had contact or at least had history with the Venom symbiote over the years. Which I'll talk about more about that in my next review, right? My next comic corner. Which I'll talk about Miles' book. Plus some other book. Yeah, so that's it for this particular review. My next review is going to be One Piece. And after One Piece, it'll be My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, and then Boruto, and I'm trying to think at the Boruto. I think it was one other video I'm going to do after. Yeah, one other video I'm going to do after that. That'll be a review for Inuyasha. Aside from that, that'll be pretty much it. Basically, I'll be doing about almost 7 videos today. Yep. But this next video, which will be One Piece soon. Okay. Bye.